Each World's Fair Exposition 1851-2000 left behind very different legacies. Some created iconic landmarks like the Eiffel Tower or Space Needle, while others ended in financial losses, abandoned fairgrounds, or urban renewal projects. I'll summarize the main fairs, in the US and abroad, and what happened after each one. 19th Century World's Fairs, 1851 London Great Exhibition, Crystal Palace. The Crystal Palace was relocated to South London, Sydenham, but later burned down in 1936, sparked the tradition of international expos. 1855, Paris Exposition, Universelle, reinforced Paris as a global cultural capital. Many temporary pavilions were dismantled. 1876, Philadelphia, Centennial Exposition celebrated U.S. independence. Most structures removed, but Memorial Hall and the Japanese Lantern remain. Site became Fairmount Park. 1889 Paris Exposition Universelle left the Eiffel Tower as its lasting landmark. Initially criticized, it later became Paris's defining symbol. 1893 Chicago World's Columbian Exposition. Most white city buildings were temporary and burned or dismantled. Inspired the City Beautiful urban movement. Museum of Science and Industry is the last major building still standing. Early 20th century 1900 Paris Exposition showcased Art Nouveau. Left bridges and parts of the Paris metro but many structures removed. 1904 St. Louis, Louisiana Purchase Exposition. Most fair buildings demolished. Art Museum and World's Fair Pavilion survive. Introduced new foods, ice cream cone, hot dogs, Dr. Pepper. 1910 Brussels boosted Belgian colonial presence. Most structures torn down. 1933-34 Chicago, Century of Progress Exposition Depression-era fair. Most buildings dismantled, though some were moved to Indiana. Boosted Chicago's global image. 1937 Paris, Exposition Internationale famous for the Soviet and Nazi pavilions facing each other. Most buildings removed after the event. 1939-40 New York World's Fair left behind Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. Trilon and Perisphere, demolished. Unisphere from the 1964 fair, later became the park symbol. Fair itself lost money but influenced post-war design. Mid-late 20th century 1958 Brussels Expo 58. Left the Atomium, still a landmark. Other pavilions dismantled. 1964-65 New York World's Fair unofficial, not sanctioned by the Bureau of International Expositions. Left behind the Unisphere and New York State Pavilion ruins. Many pavilions demolished or abandoned in Flushing Meadows. 1967 Montreal Expo 67, hugely successful. Left the Montreal Biosphere, U.S. Pavilion, and several repurposed islands, helped establish Montreal as a cosmopolitan city. 1970 Osaka Expo, left a park and cultural facilities, huge attendance, over 60 million visitors. 1974 Spokane Expo 74, first environmentally themed expo, revitalized downtown Spokane into Riverfront Park. 1982 Knoxville, Tennessee, World's Fair left behind the Sun Sphere, now a city landmark. 1986 Vancouver Expo 86, sparked major urban redevelopment. Expo Center became Science World. 1992 Seville Expo 92, left pavilions and bridges. Much of the site is now a technology park. 2000 Hanover Expo 2000, poor attendance left financial losses. Site partially reused for trade fairs. Patterns after the fair's landmarks remain. Eiffel Tower, Atomium, Space Needle, Unisphere, Sunsphere, Biosphere. Urban renewal projects. Many fairs justified parks, transport systems, and housing developments. Financial aftermath. Most fairs lost money but left cultural impact. Ephemeral nature. Most structures were temporary and demolished. World's Fair and its afterlife. Landmark left, demolished, financial impact, cultural legacy. So you can compare them all at a glance? Now let's build a timeline of the major World's Fairs, 1851-2000, and highlight date, place cultural or urban impact. Legacy left behind. World's Fair timeline, 1851-2000, 1851, London, the Great Exhibition. Impact, showcased the power of the Industrial Revolution. Elevated Britain's prestige. Legacy, the Crystal Palace, later burned in 1936. Kick-started the era of international expos. 1855, Paris Exposition, Universelle impact. Cemented Paris as a global cultural capital. Legacy, popularized Art Nouveau style in Europe. 1876, Philadelphia, Centennial Exposition. Impact, first official World's Fair in the U.S., celebrated independence. Legacy, Memorial Hall, now the Please Touch Museum. Sparked the American City Beautiful movement. 1889, Paris Exposition, Universelle impact, symbol of modernity and engineering prowess. Legacy, the Eiffel Tower, initially hated, became the world's most famous landmark. 1893, Chicago, world's Columbian Exposition impact. The White City influenced U.S. urban design, City Beautiful movement. Showcased electricity and new foods. Legacy, Museum of Science and Industry, Ferris wheel legacy, deep cultural nostalgia. 1900, Paris Exposition impact, displayed Art Nouveau, metro innovations. Legacy, Paris metro entrances by Hector Guimard remain cultural icons. 1904, St. Louis, Louisiana Purchase Exposition impact, introduced everyday foods, ice cream cone, hot dog, Dr. Pepper, peanut butter. Legacy, St. Louis Art Museum, World's Fair Pavilion, 1933-34 Chicago, Century of Progress. Impact, celebrated science and industry during the Depression. Legacy, showed futuristic architecture, promoted modernism. 1937, Paris International Exposition. Impact, Soviet and Nazi pavilions stood face to face, symbolizing pre-World II tensions. Legacy, Picasso's Guernica was unveiled here. 1939-40 New York World's Fair impact, theme, building the world of tomorrow. Inspired optimism before World II. Legacy, Flushing Meadows Corona Park, Trilon and Perisphere gone, but the concept of future-driven expos lasted. 1958 Brussels Expo 58 impact, first post-war World's Fair, optimism in science and nuclear energy. Legacy, the Atomium, futuristic Belgian landmark. 1964-65 New York World's Fair impact, corporate and futuristic showcase. Disney previewed It's a Small World and other rides. Legacy, Unisphere, New York State Pavilion, ruins today, sparked Disney's Epcot concept. 1967 Montreal Expo 67, impact, hugely successful, symbol of Canadian modern identity. Legacy, Biosphere, Habitat. 67 Housing, cultural prestige for Montreal. 1970 Osaka Expo, impact, 64 million visitors, celebrated Japan's post-war rebirth. Legacy, Expo Park and Museum remain, boosted Japan's image as a technological leader. 1974 Spokane Expo 74, impact, first environmental-themed expo, revitalized Spokane's riverfront. Legacy, Riverfront Park, still the city's cultural heart. 1982 Knoxville, Tennessee, impact, celebrated energy technology. Legacy, Sunsphere, city icon, thought the fair lost money. 1986 Vancouver Expo 86, impact, transformed the waterfront, marked Vancouver's global rise. Legacy, Science World, SkyTrain expansion, Expo lands became condos, shaping modern Vancouver. 1992 Seville Expo 92, impact, marked Spain's modern European identity after Franco's dictatorship. Legacy, bridges, technology park, cultural facilities, many pavilions abandoned, but the Isla Magica theme park remains. 2000 Hanover Expo 2000 impact, themed on sustainability, but was financially disastrous with low attendance. Legacy, mixed, some infrastructure reused but remembered as a failed expo. Big picture legacy of World's Fairs icons like the Eiffel Tower, Atomium, Unisphere, Space Needle, Sunsphere, Biosphere. Urban renewal. Fairs transformed cities, Chicago, St. Louis, Spokane, Vancouver, Seville. Cultural memory. Many fairs introduced foods, inventions and styles. Ice cream cone, Ferris wheel, Art Nouveau, Epcot rides. Financial burden. Most fairs lost money but gained cultural capital.